There was one seat left on the bus, and somehow, they both reached for it at the same time. Not with urgency, not like people fighting over space, but like two souls drifting into the same quiet corner of the world. A long-distance night bus, half-asleep passengers, fog windows, the dull rattle of overhead vents, the smell of instant coffee in paper cups, wet wool, burnt rubber, and on the outside, nothing but cold rain and power lines. Somewhere between nowhere and not yet. He was running from something. You could see it in the way he didn't look back when he handed his ticket over. In the scuff on his shoes, not worn, but dragged. Storm gray coat, still damp at the edges. A duffel bag with a broken zipper. Eyes the color of unslept nights. She, instead, moved like someone who'd just closed a door she never thought she'd walk through. Not fast, not slow, just deliberate. A folded map in her coat pocket, though she hadn't really looked at it. A ring tucked deep in her bag, still in its box. And behind her eyes, the tired flicker of someone who hadn't cried yet, but would. The driver had called the last boarding. A dull voice over the intercom. No urgency, no warmth, just a fact. Like rain, or gravity. He climbed in first, hesitating just enough to notice the emptiness. Then she stepped in behind him, wind wet, cheeks flushed red from the cold, coat wrapped tight around her like armor. One seat left, second to last row, by the window. They both paused, just for a second. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't awkward. It was more like recognition. Like they both knew that of course it would be this seat. Of course it would be this moment. She gestured. He shook his head. A silent agreement, or a stalemate. They both sat down, side by side, shoulders touching, close enough to feel the shape of the other person. No names, no smiles, just the soft buzz of a streetlight blinking overhead. The bus groaned once, the engine hummed, and the road rolled out like an old ribbon. And the night, like most nights, held its breath. For the first hour, they said nothing. The bus glided through rain-slick roads, wipers dragging slowly across the windshield. The lights inside the cabin dimmed. Time thinned out. Most passengers had already surrendered to sleep, some leaning against windows, others curled up like commas in worn-out seats. A baby near the front let out an occasional cry, and the driver's radio crackled with weather updates in a language no one was really listening to. He stared at the floor, the same spot, over and over, like it might give him answers if he stared long enough. She stared out the window, but not at anything in particular, just the blur of trees and signs and gas stations that didn't stop. And yet, somehow, they both knew. The other was carrying something heavy, too. Not bags, not luggage, a weight that lived behind the ribs. The kind you pack in silence and carry alone. Around 1:43 a.m., somewhere past a gas station with no lights, no name, just a single crooked flag flapping in the wind, she finally spoke. "Could you move your elbow?" He blinked, startled, snapped back into the present like a diver breaking the surface. He looked down. His arm had drifted over the shared armrest, pressing against her coat. He muttered an apology. "Sorry, I..." She gave a small laugh. Dry, not unkind. "It's okay," she said. "Just my arm fell asleep." He nodded, and for a moment, neither of them said anything else. But something shifted, like the first crack in ice before it melts. Like a room with no light, where someone quietly opens a window. The kind of silence that doesn't break, it unfolds. A silence that feels heard. And somewhere up ahead, in the darkness where the road curved gently west, the night waited to listen. He chuckled, not loud, not performative. The kind of chuckle people use when they haven't spoken in days. The kind that doesn't carry a joke, just relief, like remembering your own voice. She glanced sideways, eyebrows raised, amused. "What?" she asked. "Nothing," he said. "Just, it's been a while since someone told me I was in the way." She smiled. The soft kind of smile, the one people save for strangers who feel oddly familiar. The kind you don't expect to find on a night bus in the middle of nowhere. And that was all it took. A shared moment. A crack in the dam. They talked. Not about everything. Not right away. but enough to remember they still knew how. He said he used to write short stories, not for money, just for the love of it. He stopped after his father died. Couldn't explain why. Just stopped. She said she used to be engaged. Technically still was, if you counted the unanswered messages in the apartment she hadn't gone back to. Then, after a pause, "He cheated," she said quietly. "With my best friend. Not angry. Just tired. Like she'd run out of room for rage." He didn't flinch. Didn't pry. Just nodded. The kind of nod that says me too, in its own quiet way. She looked out the window. "I didn't even cry, you know? Not at first. I just packed a bag, looked at a map, and picked a town I'd never heard of." He raised an eyebrow. "Warrenville." She laughed, full-bodied, a little broken, a little free. "Yeah, Warrenville. No reason. It sounded like the kind of place no one would expect to find me." Then she added, "I think I just wanted to disappear somewhere small enough that I could start over without having to explain." He looked thoughtful. Warrenville's a gas station and 3 cows. She smiled. Exactly. He didn't ask what she planned to do there. He didn't need to. Some silences explained themselves. They kept talking. About things that mattered and things that didn't. Childhood pets. Favorite cities. Books that broke them. Songs that felt like truth. At one point, she asked, "Why stories? Why did you write?" He stared ahead, out into the streaked darkness, then said softly, "Because it let me tell the truth, without saying it was mine." She nodded, slowly, and for a long while, neither of them needed to say anything else. Around 3:17 a.m., the bus shuddered. A strange groan, then a cough, then stillness. The engine died, the lights flickered, and the soft rumble of motion vanished, like someone had pulled the night out from under them. Passengers stirred. Someone cursed. A phone flashlight clicked on near the back. The driver opened the door with a wheeze and stomped out into the dark, muttering in 3 different languages as he popped the hood. Inside, it grew cold fast. They stayed seated. She pulled her coat tighter and hugged her knees. He stood, removed his, and without a word, draped it over her shoulders. She didn't stop him, but she did glance at him sideways. "You don't have to." "I know," he said. "That's why it matters." She tucked the coat around her. The windows fogged up with sleep and breath. Outside, the world looked paused, like a film stuck between frames. She looked out and said quietly, "It's always like this." He turned toward her. "What is?" She didn't answer right away. Fingers traced the frayed edge of his coat. "The world," she said at last. "It waits until you almost believe again, and then it stalls." The line sat between them like something sacred. He leaned back in the seat, and though he didn't say it, he knew exactly what she meant. Because it did feel like that. Like the moment you start thinking maybe, you're allowed to hope again. Life reminds you how easily it can unravel. The bus creaked gently in the wind. The engine hissed once, then went quiet again. They sat in that hush, 2 people in a frozen machine on a forgotten road. But neither of them moved, and neither of them felt alone. He didn't argue, just nodded. A simple, quiet movement, like saying "I know" without needing the words. While others groaned, cursed, or called for taxis in hushed voices that didn't want to wake the night, they stayed. In the cold, on the broken-down bus, together, wrapped in silence that felt less like absence and more like shelter. Maybe that's what made it easier, the together part. The small miracle of being next to someone who wasn't trying to fix you, or judge you, or ask for more than what you could give. Just someone sitting beside you, breathing the same tired air, holding their own unspoken mess. No better, no worse, just the same. And for once, that was enough. She told him about the wedding that never happened. The dress, still hanging in the closet. The honeymoon tickets she never canceled. The text message she found by accident, and the hollow, echoing silence that followed when she confronted them. He told her about a story he never finished. A short piece about a man who gets a second chance at something. He never figured out what the something was. It felt dishonest, he said, to write hope when he didn't feel it. But tonight, maybe he could start again. They shared these things in fragments, not all at once, like passing notes in a classroom, each one saying, "This is a piece of me. I trust you to hold it for a while." And while the others fidgeted and sighed and checked their phones for signal, those two strangers simply stayed. And somewhere between 3:17 and 5:03 a.m., between broken silence and quiet stories, the sky began to shift. A hint of color bled into the black. From deep charcoal to soft indigo. From indigo to the first breath of blue. They had made it through the night. Together, the bus finally rumbled back to life. The engine coughing like an old man waking from a bad dream. Lights flickered, then held steady. Passengers stirred. And the road, that old ribbon of dark, began to unroll again. Signs appeared through the fogged windows. Familiar, faded names. Mileage markers. And then, Orenville, white letters peeling off a green sign. Population, barely. She shifted in her seat. Sat up straighter. Her breath caught. Not panic, not quite hope either. Something in between. "This is me," she said softly, like she was trying to convince herself. He stood up to let her pass, stepped into the aisle, and looked at her for the first time without distraction. She hesitated. Her hand gripped the seat back. Her hair was a little messy, eyes rimmed red, but clearer than before. "Hey," she said, voice low. "Thanks for sharing the seat." He smiled. "Thanks for not letting me hog the armrest." She laughed, tired, real. The kind of laugh that's been locked behind too many closed doors. Then she paused, like she wanted to say more, like something was balancing on the edge of her tongue, unsure whether it should fall. She looked toward the front of the bus, toward the soft glow of a town that didn't know her name. "If it's not what I hoped," she said, eyes lingering on the door, "maybe I'll keep going. Find somewhere else. Somewhere quieter. Maybe I'll come back this way." He nodded, slowly, like someone placing a bookmark in the middle of a chapter. "If you do, I'll save you the window seat." She smiled. Not a big, sweeping smile. Just a small, honest one, the kind people wear when they finally feel seen. She stood to go, but she hesitated and turned back. "What's your name?" He blinked, surprised, but grateful. "Liam." She gave a soft nod. "I'm Diana." A beat passed. Nothing more was needed. She stepped off. The door hissed shut behind her. The cold slipped in for half a second, then vanished. She didn't look back, but she didn't need to. Some goodbyes aren't spoken. They live in the space between breaths, in the way two people pause just long enough to say thank you without saying anything at all. Some people come into your life for years. They stretch across calendars, birthdays, moves, mistakes. Their presence is long and slow, like rivers shaping stone. Others, just one night, one seat, one story. But that story, that one night, it can change something, quietly, permanently, like a splinter of light in a room you thought would always stay dark. And sometimes, that's enough. The next stop came, then another. A blur of neon diners and empty fields. A sky slowly blooming with color, pale gold creeping behind clouds. And when the driver pulled into a small, nameless town, the kind that exists between postcards and forgotten exits, the man stood up. No fanfare, no urgency, just a deep breath. A breath that sounded like beginning again. He stepped off into the morning. The window seat stayed empty for a while after that. People came and went, students, salesmen, women with crying babies, men with heavy coats. But no one quite sat the same way.